Okay, welcome to the October 15th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting. This is an in-person and virtual meeting with Environmental Quality Commission, EQC members, city staff, and members of the public. Roll call. I would like to introduce staff and EQC members present. We have Chair McKenna, Vice Chair Meyer, Commissioners Angel, Headley, and Hill. Staff present is Sustainability Manager Rachel Lunder. Ms. Lunder, would you please provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to share a process for public comment this evening. We have public comment cards on that ledge over there. So when I call for public comment, you can fill one of those out and return it to me. If you are calling in from a phone line, you can press *9 during public comment and we will be able to unmute you. And if you're tuning in from Zoom, you can hit the raise hand button, which is either next to your name following those three dots or at the bottom of your screen, depending on what device you're using. We'll have time for public comment for items not on the agenda at the top of the meeting, and then public comment for each item following the presentation. So I'll return the meeting to you, John.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to item C, public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. While you are not required to provide your name or city of residence, it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Sustainability Manager Lunder, could you please call for public comment?
Sure. If you'd like to make public comment for an item not on the agenda, fill out a public comment card and return it to me. If you're online, you can hit the raise hand button, either to the right of your name or at the bottom of your screen, or you can press *9 if you're calling in. And I see some cards in the room. Okay. And I don't see any hands online yet. Let's double check. Okay. So we can start with our card in the room. Julia will have 3 minutes for public comment, and whenever you're ready.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Julia Zeidman, a Palo Alto resident, Stanford student. And I'm also the co-founder of the Palo Alto Student Climate Coalition, something that's passed. And we recently launched an initiative called the Cool Cities Coalition. I met with several of you about this work. This summer of 2024, we conducted a data collection campaign to identify urban heat islands in Palo Alto, East Palo Alto, and Menlo Park. Through a NOAA-sponsored program. And so we have this really helpful data that tells us where there are hotspots on dayscape systems. And we are currently working with the mayor of East Palo Alto, Martha Barragan, to distribute extreme heat, and we're calling them resilience kits, containing materials that you need in the event of a climate disaster, like an extreme heat event or another weather-related disaster. So we have 100 of these kits that were funded from the mayor of East Palo Alto herself, as well as a grant this summer from the Kerwin Morse Foundation. And so we have 100 of these kits, and we're trying to find the most vulnerable residents that would really benefit from that. So they contain things like medication cooling pouches for someone who has medication that needs to be refrigerated if power might go out, as well as other materials that I won't go into now. But we'd love to see if there's anyone who's interested in collaborating on this and bringing this work to Menlo Park. Specifically, we know that there's some interest in Belhaven. We've been working a little bit with Belhaven Action, specifically Councilor Taylor on this. And we will also be distributing the bulk of these kits, or not the bulk, but a significant amount on October 23rd at the East Palo Alto Senior Center to seniors. But we are also interested in expanding this work to Menlo Park as well.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, I don't have any other cards in the room or hands online, so we can close public comment for items not on the agenda and return the meeting to Chair.
Thank you. The regular business. P1, approve the September 16th minutes. Are there any clarifying questions from EQC before taking public comment?
Was it September 17th? Was that an error? Yeah, September 17th.
let's approve 17/2025 environmental quality.
Motion to approve.
Will be come first. You. Okay, no questions, then yes, responder, do we have any public comment on this item?
Sure, let me open up public comment for item D1, approve the September 17th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. If you're in the room and you'd like to make public comment, there's cards over there. If you're calling in, you can press *9, and if you're on Zoom, you can hit the raise hand button. There's no cards in the room and no hands online, so we can close public comment on item D1.
Okay, I'll open it. We see discussion, push.
I move that we approve it.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Hill and a second by Headley to approve the September 17th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. Okay, and I'll do roll call since we have 2 absent. Commissioner Headley. Okay, Chair McKenna,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Vice Chair Meyer.
Yeah.
Commissioner Angell. Okay, the motion passes with 5 in favor and 2 absent.
Thank you. 2, review and discuss existing permit fee waiver program. The sustainability staff will present the fact.
Thank you. Pull up the slides for it. Okay, so to start off, our staff presentations for the evening will be reviewing and discussing our existing building electrification permit fee waiver program. I'll share some background since there's quite a bit of background on this one. Go into the revenue forfeited through this program, and we'll look at some permit trends and have time for discussion. So as a refresher for those new to our climate action plan, our goal number 1 is to explore policy and program options to convert 95% of existing buildings to all electric by the year 2030. To do this, one of the programs approved by City Council in August of 2022 was to have a permit fee waiver for electrification permit fees. And this was a part of the master fee schedule update for that year. And City Council directed staff to forfeit $150,000 in permit fees for this program and to return when that limit had been reached. And so we did return in May of 2024 when we had forfeited about $165,000. And City Council provided, direction that we should better understand the effectiveness of this program before making a decision on it, and that we could, kind of postpone making a decision until the next master fee schedule update. And so we're looking forward to the master fee schedule updating happening in the spring of 2026. And so we're starting to put together that information and do research. And so, today's goal is to just get a temperature reading on the EQC around, how you're feeling about the program, if there's any questions. And we don't need to have like a formal recommendation from this group tonight, unless, it's really clear that we're coming to consensus on it. But just wanted to kind of introduce this program again and our process for updating the master fee schedule and share some of our early thinking on, the direction we're looking at based on data that we have. So since October 2022, when this effort was implemented, we have had 906 total electrification projects, waiving about $350,000, so about double our first goal of 150K. 53% of these waivers were issued with projects that had multiple permits. So thinking about like home renovations, additions, larger type projects. And so those ones would receive a flat permit fee waiver of either $250 or $500, depending on the amount of appliances that they were upgrading. The permit data is pretty hard to interpret. So we're looking at like the amount that's waived, that like we don't have a button that says what appliance received the credit. And so, with our analysis, we believe that 33 of those permit waivers went to electrical panel upgrades, 6 to EV chargers or EV charging infrastructure, 245 to HVAC, so looking at like the installation of heat pumps, and 482 going to those, larger remodel projects, with 140 going to water heaters. And that would be for both heat pump and electric water heaters. So over this last fiscal year, 24-25, we've seen a decrease in waiver credits issued. You can see here our peak was towards the end of 2024, going into 2025. But really, we've had a decline in electrification permits over the last 12 months. And so with that, we've implemented our pilot program for about 36 months. You've seen we forfeited around $350,000. There's a lot of complexities at our permit counter that I mentioned. It's very hard for our permit staff to identify if it's an electrification project. Like, we don't have like a checkbox in our online permitting system, and we're not able to build that out. And so there's a lot of kind of admin work on the back end to understand, which projects should get waivers and which ones shouldn't. Spend a lot of time emailing our building department staff, looking at plans and trying to understand if a project is electrifying, if they're already like replacing an electric piece of equipment. And so based on these complexities, we've understand if we are going to keep the program, we need to like dramatically change how we're implementing it. Maybe consider like reducing fee waiver amounts. So these are all kind of options on the table, or ultimately discontinuing the program, since we're seeing many of these folks, based on a survey that we did, their primary reason for electrifying was the environment, not the permit fee waiver. And so we believe they're not really moving the needle for folks. And with the forfeited revenue, the city could consider other types of programs. So that's just some of kind of the early thinking. And ultimately it's, kind of worded poorly here, but kind of landing at, this recommendation to discontinue the program, and wanting to get EQC feedback tonight on, what other data would be valuable. Is this a program that's you feel is really important, that you've heard from your neighbors has been, really supportive in their electrification journeys, or what other creative ideas you might have at the building counter. And so I'll leave it there for clarifying questions, and I'm looking forward for discussion on it.
Great, thank you. Do you have any clarifying questions from EQC before we go to public comment? Vice Chair Meyer?
To discontinue the program in spring of 2026, right?
Yeah.
Would you recap the 3 top points about why it is something that needs to be stopped?
Yeah, so one is that we are over the more than double the amount that kind of was the first policy direction that we received from City Council. The other reason, we did a survey, and the majority of respondents said their reason for going electric was environmental benefits. And the city fee waiver was actually one of the lowest ranking reasons for why folks went electric. And the other reason is the administrative challenges that we're having with it, based on our online permitting system and the limitations of that tool. And then another part I didn't mention is we're looking at making, a recommendation to City Council around the matching rebates for electrification work. And so acknowledging that we'll have another incentive lever in the new year, potentially.
Do you have any questions?
I had questions. I emailed them to Rachel and I got answers back.
Okay.
I can reiterate them if it would be helpful for
Yeah.
the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were great questions.
Okay, well, they were really helpful answers too. All right, so I had some very basic questions, which you all can decide if they're, but I was like, why do we have permits? Why do we have permit fees? And then some information about that. Would that be helpful?
Mhm.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to share why we have permits and permit fees. And so, starting, often when I think about these policies, I think like what's federally required, what's state required. And so from the state perspective, we have the requirement to issue permits under the California Building Standards Code. And the state does actually collect a small portion of fees associated with each permit. So even our electrification permit fee waiver doesn't cover that state cost. Our building permits are not cost recovery. I mean, sorry, they're not revenue, they are cost recovery. And so we work so we're working right now with a consultant to understand how much time is spent reviewing the plans, how much time is spent in the field, doing inspections. There's engineering that goes into it, as well as maintaining our permit portal, and other admin costs. And so all of those costs are what go into the permit fees. And so the city is, not kind of subsidizing, private customers in doing these sorts of work. Another big piece, and this is what, our building official, I think, would say if I'm putting on his hat, is he really considers it as kind of an insurance to protect the homeowner. You know that the city, a third party who's well-trained in health and safety is coming out to review the plans, do the inspections to make sure you're meeting the minimum safety standards for structural integrity, fire, electrical, plumbing. So your home, your building is safe to occupy. And you have that documentation because of that if something does go wrong. And so it's helping to hold our builders accountable. It also helps when there's neighbors disputes, which can often happen with electrification projects when we think about like setbacks for heat pumps. When you have that properly permitted, it becomes kind of a non-issue with code enforcement if your neighbor has a noise complaint or some other concern about your equipment. And then permits also help with our property tax assessments. And so that's information that's shared with the county to make sure that we're collecting revenue there. And I'm sure our building official would have better stated all that and more reasons. But I'll leave it there.
Perfect. I had a couple other questions, some of which I think you've already answered. Being what was the original rationale for the fee waiver program between help to support electrification? And why are you recommending ending it, which you've already talked about? But then the last question I had really was around what are other climate forward cities doing with their permit fees?
Yeah, so yeah, we've actually done kind of the dog and pony show with the fee waivers and have shared kind of best practices with other cities. And as far as we know, no other cities have kind of taken up that effort, following our program. The only city I'm unclear about is Mountain View, and I'm waiting to hear back from their staff on whether or not they have a similar program. I don't know if anyone on this commission knows. But like San Mateo, Berkeley, Oakland, Half Moon Bay, Sunnyvale, none of them have this offering, waiving permit fees.
Great. The master fee schedule, is that like a 5-year, 10-year? How often does that come up?
Oh, that's a great question. My understanding was that there's changes to it made annually in the spring. But we're now have year 2 and the changes being made. So I think it's kind of as needed. And maybe actually Commissioner Hill has wisdom from the finance.
Sorry, that one did not hit my radar.
Okay. But that's something I can come back with. But it's not kind of like a once every 10 years. It's a pretty regular process. And you can bring amendments to it outside of that process. It's just administratively burdensome.
With the 4.5 frequent the waiver program went away, homeowners have to pay a fee now, or would the 4.5 really cover that?
So currently the 4.5 million is covering the permit fees because the contractor that works with Peninsula Clean Energy has a bundled price for each upgrade that includes permit fees. So we do charge them the permit fees since they're charging PCE for it anyway.
The homeowner doesn't.
No.
Those were the clarifying questions I had. Shall we go to public comment?
That sounds great. Okay. We'll open up public comment for item D2, review and discuss existing building electrification permit fee waiver program. If you are in the room and you'd like to make a public comment, we have cards over there. If you're calling in, you can hit the raise hand button to the right of your name or at the bottom of your screen, depending on your device. And if you are calling in, you can press *9 and we can unmute you. I don't see any hands online, or we do have one card in the room, so let me reset our timer here. And when you're ready, Brian, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thanks. Good evening, Brian Schmidt, Menlo Spark. Bottom line is Menlo Spark would prefer that this program be renewed and funding be renewed as well for the program. For the reason why it started, which was to assist electrification. While there's some bumps in the road and issues that Rachel has mentioned, those do not eliminate the original reason. I think actually the original reason is being reinforced by the passage of time. The city's goal, its express goal, is climate neutrality by 2030. It is not on track to get to that. Its express goal is also 95% building electrification by 2030. It is also not on track to get to that goal. And anything that slows these things down puts us further behind. So I hope that any discussion that goes to city council keeps that overall issue in mind as a reason for figuring out what should be done next. Can't really respond to everything that Rachel just brought up, but I would say that I think administrative issues could be addressed, especially if this goes from a pilot process to something that is part and integral to the fee schedule and fee planning. So they don't have to try and do back work in this pilot into figuring out how to work it into the regular fee schedule. As far as public interest, it is one of the contributing interests to it, even if it's not the major interest. So anything that removes a supporting interest, I think is going to slow down the program of electrification even more than it already has been slowed down. And as far as the EQC recommendation of a rebate that goes beyond the home upgrade program, but to everyone else, these two changes work against each other. You're going to give people a rebate for electrifying, and then you're going to charge them by charging permit fees that you were up until now we have been charging. I don't see those two programs as working together. And I would also point out that multifamily home renovations, permits are usually issued on a per unit basis. So you're not talking about a $500 permit for a 6-unit apartment. You're talking about a couple $1,000 for that. So it starts to become substantial. What I would like to encourage be part of this process is they consider ways to move permits faster, maybe eliminate permits. The former EQC chair, Tom Cabot, has talked about legalizing heat pump water heaters. Why do you need that permit for a heat pump water heater? And you don't need one for a gas water heater, which is more dangerous, really. And finally, that if there is going to be a change, we would suggest an income cutoff, maybe matching the home upgrade program. 120% of AMI or less gets the fee waiver. Maybe it could be included on that basis. And at the same time, some type of permit issuance metrics to review to make sure that permits are being issued at a faster basis. And maybe we can eliminate some of the costs.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
So get it done.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for your comment.
Time's up.
Yes, sometimes the chair can allow a couple seconds more. Thank you.
I resent what it's saying that said my voice quality is poor.
Hopefully the audio is coming through for folks. We do not have any more public comments in the room, so we can close public comment on item D2.
Thank you. After discussion.
The difficulty with permit processing, trying to identify which projects are part of the program and which ones aren't. And inflexibility in the portal, which I am expanding in my head to the Board of sort of a problem in general, but I could be wrong. Makes me think that, that is certainly something that, is a problem for the city. And is worth sort of discussing and addressing, because difficulty issuing permits, difficulty processing permits is expensive and frustrating, and it isn't the purpose of the city as much as it is the necessity of the city, and so we're not really the people to talk about that, but it does sort of ring a few alarms about, it's just, that's a shame. That if we wanted to do it, it costs us all this pain and trouble to be able to do it, regardless of the larger purpose.
I second everything that we've just said. I think it is expensive for both the city as well as for the homeowner and the contractor to go through the permit process. So anything we can do to streamline that, I think would be very, very helpful. But speaking about this specific program, I like the idea of keeping the permit fee waiver in place because we are not hitting our climate action plan. I like the idea of reducing any barriers to electrification. So whether they're financial in this way or streamlining the process, I would be supportive of both of those things. And the one thing I'd add is that if we decide, or if the staff wants to recommend that we do away with this overall, I would encourage some carve outs for, I would consider, as Brian Schmidt mentioned, like lower income residents, the nonprofit housing, affordable housing. I'm thinking even elders, or parts of the city with poorer air quality historically. So we could make some carve outs that way that would support the EJ element. Yeah, I just want to reduce the barriers as much as we can. But it sounds like having this program in place is also a barrier for city staff. So I'm concerned about that. I didn't really understand that that was a problem. So yeah, I think we need to be very judicious in how we ask them to use their time so that it's most effective way possible. Yeah. So maybe like if we keep it, like don't make it a pilot, build it into the system, upgrade the permit process, the online portal, whatever that is.
Yeah, I'll just say I support keeping this going, and if it helps the city to kind of make it more like income based, or like you were saying, like based off of air quality or other, multifamily, whatever, multipliers, different descriptions. I think that should be something exploring. But eliminating all the barriers to electrification seems like something that I support.
So the barriers to electrification seem to be the permit preparation process, not quite so much the fee. And according to the survey that people were electrifying because adding value to their house maybe, or caring about the climate, I'm guessing. And the fee waiver was last, and that could be reflecting who has the pocket change to be able to. But I wonder what we might be able to do instead. I would like to discuss if we were to try to staunch the egress of money that we're having. What it is that we might look at instead. Because we may hit on something that very much serves the same purpose. If we're running permits anyway, everybody goes through the pain of it, and the money that's exchanged should serve to cover it. It sounds imperfect, it sounds great, but maybe we could come up with a couple of ideas that are worth discussing if we toss it around for 5 minutes. Any of them? I don't have any. The rebate matching is certainly very. If we stop the fee waiver now. There's nothing stopping us from returning to it, right? We could look at this as a cycle, as a learning process that we're maybe would go into rebate matching and see how helpful that is. And then be able to see what that does. And in this era of rebates being revoked, that might be a more effective tool in nowadays versus 2-3 years ago. And we could always return to the fee if we wish. I'm just concerned about that administrative head.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm very interested in what Brian shared about there being no permit required for a gas water heater. Is that?
Not in Menlo Park, that you need a permit to replace gas with gas.
But most people don't.
Yeah, we don't have great data on that. We've spun around on that question, but we don't know if you're not submitting a permit.
Yeah, I
Although
mean,
these
that's just
numbers we
gonna,
suggested.
Yeah. Yes,
given the fact that now as we talk about all the time that it usually happens in an emergency situation. It's, a contractor is often gonna say, hey, I can do this for you right now, cheaper, just swap it out, or. You have to pay more, we have to get a permit.
It's gonna
They-
take longer.
they do
It's
issue
gonna
like
take
a,
longer, it disincentivizes the switch, which is not what the city wants.
But
So.
they do have to get a permit either. way.
Supposed
in an emergency situation, they're allowed to replace and then it's an after process.
I see. But. Does that also apply to? Going to a heat pump? That emergency situation. Not for me. I just think we wanna take down the barriers, and I guess I don't really understand. When you're not dealing with gas. Why the permit is required, if there's a new circuit being installed, perhaps there's a permit for that. But. With these plug-in ones. And you're just tapping off the gas line, why would you need a permit for that? And I would argue that that would be. An excellent thing to remove.
It's with the state, I mean, I thought the state required permits for this.
They do.
So we could,
So we can,
No, some other creative ideas I've heard, from Tom and others in that community or thought camp, like proactively issuing permits, so you could just go in the database, see all the addresses that haven't gotten a permit in the last 50 years and assume that they either need one or and then just kind of mail them a permit proactively. I haven't explored that at all, but those are kind of some of the structures that they're working on.
So like a set. Cost, or is it based off the project?
It's based off the project.
if we had $348,000. And we weren't gonna do rebate match, and we weren't gonna do floors. Would we put it toward awareness building? Would we put it toward more electrification of city buildings?
I believe
We do not know.
I believe the fees collected have to be used for the services rendered. I don't know if we can.
So it was more of a conceptual.
Yeah.
If we are willing to continue spending.
Yes, yeah,
That we can't spend on forfeiture.
yes.
I guess I would go back to the list that we generated when we thought about how we might spend the second half of the $2.5 million, $4.5 million. I feel like that was a good list.
It's a good list.
Yeah, and the things that we've been doing, I would just say fund everything and do it faster.
That we might. The one thing that comes to mind when I think about the permit fee waiver program is the signal. It communicates a emphasis on electrification that is stunning. Wow, look at that. And so that amount of signaling is hard to replace.
I have an idea. What if we did something simpler? Like if there was at least one appliance that was going from gas to electric in any project of any size. We say there's a credit of $200, $250, whatever seems appropriate to incentivize that. And then it would eliminate a lot of the back and forth between you and the building department. Hopefully they could just figure out, like, oh yeah, it's an electric thing. And then we'd still have something that would be simpler to administer.
Yeah, it would only apply to heat pump appliances, if you're putting one in.
Yeah.
And we don't care what your,
Heat pump, or I'm thinking like induction cooktops too. That's helpful, especially for indoor air quality.
it is, no, those are good, those are really good.
With the induction, you do not need a permit to replace your stove, but if you are doing like a new circuit, you would pull a permit, and that's where it gets tricky because we don't know what your new circuit is for.
So maybe.
But we can
maybe
explore
it's
that.
heat pumps.
Heat pumps of any.
Yeah,
Can I
maybe
clarify
just-
that idea?
What?
Can I clarify that idea?
Sure.
So if
maybe it
any,
doesn't matter if you replace gas, maybe you're just. That's it. Because people could have a heat pump and decide they want to go back to gas, but we're saying, no, we're gonna waive some fees as long as you keep having heat pumps in your house.
Any heat pump, anywhere, any place. A horse,
Whatever.
a cart, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be simpler. What was your?
that
question?
clarifies. Yeah, I was just curious what projects you were looking to apply like a credit to. So it would just be if you're,
if you, heat pump, water heat, or.
Yeah.
And I guess it leaves out, even, well, it's not perfect, but it signals, which is valuable. But free, interesting.
It's a help.
that's super helpful. I think what we're seeing is folks come in and see it as kind of like a pleasant surprise, like a cherry on top, like it's not helping to persuade them or make a decision around it. And so I could see matching rebates plus this working really well together, especially if we're able to like communicate that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The
and
kind of
you can
signal you're
imagine
talking
that
about.
the wonderful coupon. Two people, two. So,
And it encourages folks to get the permits, which I know is, important to the city for the health and safety reasons.
Yeah.
And so I'll, as kind of next step, socialize these ideas with our building official. We'll be getting a new building official over the next coming months, and so this might be a good project to kind of start engaging him on. And I think we'll come back for a formal recommendation from the EQC. I just wanted to get like a temperature reading on some of our early thinking. And get some creative ideas flowing because sometimes we don't feel so creative when we're stuck in these spreadsheets. So I really appreciate the conversation. And if anything comes up, like we will be thinking about this for the next few months. So just email me, give me a call, and I'd welcome that. Yeah, and maybe we can plan to come back in like January, New Year, with a more baked proposal that keeps the spirit of what the EQC is offering tonight in mind.
and planning to begin with sharing with people behind the desk and say, oh, this will work, that one. this'll work,
Exactly.
that one, just.
Yeah, like we really want to keep this. What do you think will work? Okay, great.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having the conversation. We appreciate it. And by we, I mean Liz and I. Liz helped to get all that data together, so it's unfortunate she couldn't be here tonight to share it with you all. Okay, so we don't need like a recommendation for this item, so I think it's up to you, Chair. If we move on.
Sounds like. Yeah, I'll just add. To our earlier discussion, we're not reaching our goal then. I think this is a barrier that should remain removed, but not fully understanding all the administrative challenges. Yeah, I'd like to see the waiver program continue in some form. And yeah, I just think, there's all these ways it's carrots and sticks conversation, and this is a carrot, and some people like carrots, and I would recommend that we keep the waiver program as is, or at least in some form, some. At the same time, trying to address the administrative challenges. Keeping it going. With that, okay, we will move on to item G3. Review and discuss approach to for the 2026 Love Art.
Okay, this is another opportunity to share some early feedback on some planning that's just getting started around our annual Love Our Earth Festival. Let's see, why am I having a hard time finding our screen? Let's see. Did that work? Okay. It feels like we just had our Love Our Earth Festival at the Bellhaven Community Campus in April, but turns out it's time to start thinking about 2026. And so Liz and I will be leading from the Menlo Park team and wanted to make sure we had the EQC's vision captured as we start planning with partners. So we'll look at, oops. Get a teaser there. Okay, so we'll look at some background on the Love Our Earth Festival. We'll share some resources that we have for 2026 and some options that we've started gathering around with our planning commission, and get into discussion. And by planning commission, I meant like our planning committee, not the city's planning commission. So you'll see in this picture, it says Ori from the sustainability team and Michaela from Public Works at our last year Love Our Earth Festival at the BHCC. And this is Cal and Adam from our community development team at the year before at Bloomhouse. So the event started as the We Love Earth Festival at Flood Park in 2022. Many of you in this room were a part of that first planning in an effort to promote climate awareness and sustainability through family-friendly activities at or around Earth Day when it's on our collective consciousness. The festival has grown to feature educational exhibits, eco-friendly practices, electric vehicle showcases, plant-based markets. Bye, Julia. Yeah. Food trucks, interactive demonstrations on climate action, story times, live music. So it's really been one of our larger festivals in the city that tries to bring together, food, fun, education, and community building in one space. In 2023, the event changed from the We Love Earth Festival to Love Our Earth Festival, and we've been rotating locations between unincorporated county, Atherton, East Palo Alto, and Menlo Park. And so in 2025, the festival grew to a budget of $12,000, and that was from contributions from Actera, City of East Palo Alto, Menlo Spark, Peninsula Clean Energy, through a grant that 350 Silicon Valley applied for, as well as the City of Menlo Park contributing $5,000 of that. We are, looking at maintaining this coalition, and we've had one kickoff meeting with the folks listed in that final bullet. So I gave kind of a high level of what the Love Our Earth experience has been in past years, but in 2025, we had 389 registered attendees, 60 local CBOs and businesses hosting information tables. We had 6 plant-based food vendors coming from all over the Bay Area, so bringing new types of cuisine to our community. We had a native plant workshop, an herbalism workshop. We had a climate circus and a climate carnival, a compost giveaway, t-shirt screen printing, which you can see on the right, bike repair, and an EV display. Here's our climate carnival right there. In 2026, the city contributed approximately 4 hours per week of staff time until the event, and that started really in like January. And we contributed $5,000, as I mentioned, and we have that budgeted again this year. And, you know, as I mentioned, we've rotated cities. So we had ours in Bellhaven last year. And so we were looking at our East Palo Alto partners to host in 2026. And one of the ideas that came up was hosting at Cesar Chavez Middle School, which is in the Ravenswood City School District, which many of our Menlo Park students attend. And so the East Palo Alto team was eager and interested for us to see if there was a there to host at that campus, if the EQC was also interested in that. And so just kind of zooming out for 2026, we have the opportunity to co-host a festival similar to what I described. We've looked at some dates at BHCC. The 18th and 25th of April are available, as well as May 16th. May 9th is not available, but perhaps it is with the school district. And so that's kind of the first option. And then we've thought of some other options if this seems like I don't know, like the group would like to consider something new. There's the potential to host smaller Earth Day events throughout April and May. Or maybe there's another idea because we really want to, you know, leverage these community engagement activities that take so much time and resources to make sure they're actually moving the needle and getting people to change their behaviors or participate in programs. And so, you know, it's hard to tell, you know, what comes from the magic of these festivals, like what sort of connections are made. But just wanted to kind of spend some time interrogating that and making sure that we're, you know, not just focused on the fun piece, but focused on behavior change. And so if there's something else that we could do to improve that, whether it's infusing that into the festival or having another type of Earth Day celebration or acknowledgement, we'd be open to discussing those ideas. And then that's all we have prepared. And I say we because, as I mentioned, Liz put together these slides, but was not able to make it this evening. But happy to kind of get into clarifying questions and then discussion on it.
You?
What is the hypothesis about behavior change? Is it the presence of the community-based organizations and people? Those programs?
Yeah, they can get connected to resources and programs. Yeah. In past years, we've had like folks do pledges while they're at the event, say like what they learned and what they're gonna take home with them. Yeah, sort of thing.
Public comment, Wanda?
Yeah, let's open up public comment for item. Are we on D3? All right. For item D3, review and discuss approach for the 2026 Love Our Earth Festival. If you're in the room and you have a comment card, I'll take it from you. There's comment cards over there if you're interested. And then if you're online, you can press the raise hand button to the right of your name or at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in, you can press *9. I don't see any hands raised online, but we do have one card in the room. So we'll start with you, Brian, when you're ready.
Okay. Again, Brian Schmidt, Menlo Spark. We've been involved with Love Our Earth from the beginning, happy to continue being involved so we can continue to provide some assistance for the next year's version. We've made financial contributions. Our contribution in 2025 wasn't actually needed, so we said we would defer it over to next year. So it's a modest one. So we can do that and maybe add a little bit to it as well. Now for the first time since I've been at Menlo Spark, we also have a outreach and marketing coordinator. So she can get involved and do a much better job than I did doing some of this stuff. I don't really have any ideas at this point. Maybe we will as a planning process goes on. But as to the question as to kind of what's the point of this, one thing I raised in a recent meeting of my board of directors is that it is hard to reach the broader community. We can do door to door like we are doing, Menlo Spark is doing, together with the city and Peninsula Clean Energy, Bellhaven, but you can't really do that to every house in Menlo Park. This is a chance to reach a lot more people than we normally get to. So I think that is a good opportunity to continue to have people see some of the environmental perspectives and challenges and opportunities that we have.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, we have no hands raised or additional cards in the room, so we can close public comment on item D3.
Great, thank you. We will now open it up to discussion. Yes, please.
So I've attended I didn't attend the very first. So like maybe the last 2 or 3, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. Mostly because it feels like a reunion of all the environmentally oriented people that I know and love. You know? So that might just be my experience, but it makes me wonder, how do we reach a broader audience? And so some of the ideas I had were, like, what if we did it downtown? Kind of like the Art and Wine Festival things we used to do with the Downtown Business Association. Could it be something like that where, you know, there's like a big thing, and that would also bring some more people downtown and really support the vibrancy that we all want to see there. Another idea going with staff's idea of having multiple events throughout the month. What if we did something like, what if it's like First Fridays, you know, like First Fridays, like the art walk and the galleries, but maybe we come up with a cute name, and then maybe there was like a movie screening at the Guild, and then some other thing on another Friday. I just like the idea of having it be not just a family friendly event, because like my daughter is grown now, so like would I go to the Lover Earth Festival if I wasn't in the community and involved in, you know, like in the environmental, like I probably wouldn't. But if it was, you know, like a movie screening, like I could gather a few friends, you know, if there was like food and wine, it would be like an adult thing to go do. So we could have like a kid-friendly thing, an adult thing, maybe there's something for elders, maybe there's like different things for different people to try to get kind of like, what do they care about as it relates to the planet. And maybe we could have some things that we're thinking too about, like, okay, there's a food focused one and a electrification focused thing. I think that would take a bit more energy, but maybe if each event had, you know, like a sponsor for it, it wouldn't be as heavy of a lift.
Are you thinking like one of the sponsors we saw on the screen, or like a business sponsor, different type of sponsor?
Like, what if Menlo Spark, not to pick you stuff, since, you know, they're so focused on electrification, what if Menlo Spark was like, okay, we'll figure out the electrification thing, you know, and then maybe like Carbon Cutout figures out the food thing. Or Actera, yeah, Actera figure out the food thing, whatever the answer is.
Sure.
I'm not attached to any of those ideas. I just thought I also like the large thing, and I like the idea of doing it at the Caesars campus too. That seemed good, but it also does feel like a hall for where I live. And like, would I naturally just like run into it? No, but if I was going to the farmer's market or going to Trader Joe's on the weekend, I might run into the festival and then just happen to be there. But I wouldn't just run into the Cesar Chavez campus. Not that that's an excuse for not doing it there, but I feel like we need to try to get people who might not go out of their way. Kind of the walk by track.
I mean, I like that idea of the bringing in more partners and more. I don't want it to become more work, because I know when you have multiple events, that just multiplies the amount of work. It's already significant for staff. But the idea of just encouraging the entire community to really engage during Earth Month, like all restaurants to have plant forward menu items on their, you know, special Earth Day.
I love that idea.
Earth Month menu, having, you know, Earth themed films or music events at the Guild, at, you know, just really engaging other partners, and maybe as we build this community, I forget what we're calling it, but our committee where we're engaging more of the community members, that can be something that we're driving towards. Just saying specifically, we have Earth Month to, you know, all of the faith-based organizations can be focusing on this. All of, you know, the library can do something, schools, like engaging everybody to really put on their thinking caps and doing something really meaningful to educate and engage people. And I do think things like pledges are really key, because yeah, a lot of people show up to Earth Day and, oh, this was great, and then go back home and go about their usual stuff. But if they've made a pledge, and then maybe they're reminded of the pledge multiple times by, you know, through email, hey, what are you doing? Do you need help? Are you still wanting to electrify? Needing help with such and such, all of that stuff, just kind of bringing that in too. I always say Earth Day is every day. So it frustrates me that it all comes, you know, on this one day or even month, and let's make it a bigger thing and then keep reminding people, yeah, you made a pledge to do this.
I really like the idea of kind of getting everyone to take ownership for their part of Earth Month.
One thing you mentioned, Nicole, is faith-based organizations being on. I thought that's one great category of organization that cuts across families and everybody. Right, like hospitals, churches, right? And so it seems like, wow, city organizations and churches and sort of a little awkward of a match, but not impossible to do. And it could be a very good way to grab the people who would otherwise not come to a family-based event.
And then communities, organizations.
Yeah, I said churches and then hospitals. Maybe there is a role for Stanford, or the Stanford. What is the name of that clinic? Fair Oaks Community. It could be that those types of locations possibly could cut across all demographics, and the tricky part is the connection to Earth Day and welfare and sustainability. Not so though with faith-based organizations, that is actually pretty central.
If we're doing like a pledge idea, we could send something out or like advertise some sort of pledge program. It's like for the 3 weeks in April until, if we did like one big Earth Festival, you know, each day we publish something that's like, oh, like try biking to, you know, A to B, or, you know, try this vegan meal, and, you know, take a photo of yourself doing it. You do it for the 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you get a prize after the festival.
Calendar, kind of social media thing.
Yeah. It's like kind of decentralized, like not just one day, but it's also not like planning multiple events in a month.
But some of the things in that calendar would be sort of big-ish events.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
so I don't know, if we could like maybe coordinate with a few businesses, I don't know, maybe like downtown on the park that are like more environmentally forward, just say like, you know, this week is like Green Business Week, you go and shop here, get dinner here, it's an extra point or something. Get the people to be involved, I don't know, an idea.
Similar to this tree scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
which wrapped up, if you're curious.
How
We had
many entries?
16 entries, and so each one was able to get a fruit tree of their choice, or
Okay.
like a blueberry bush or other plant of their choice. And the idea was that they would come to the Public Works open house to collect theirs, but I think only one person came. But they've found ways to, coordinate delivery of that.
I'm really liking this idea of like, okay, read business week. And maybe, like, maybe there's 4 themes throughout April. That just, it feels a little bit more manageable. I don't know what the other ideas would be, but I like the pledges. I like the getting others involved.
Film stuff like the media and arts week, like, we got the
There could be like galleries with a green focus, movie at the Guild.
Biking around on a piece that the Menlo sport people organize.
Yeah, so there could be like an active transit week. Green business week. What was it? Art and
and
art and media week.
Food, we're gonna mention food, right?
Yeah, and I'd love to just, yeah,
Is that part of green business week or is that?
I mean, you could see like all the restaurants. Birthday menu item or. And then hopefully they would keep them.
Yeah.
So,
And this would be across Menlo Park and East Palo Alto, so there's a little bit of scale, which is interesting.
And then as part of that, like any of the businesses that supported, they could have a little sign in your window. They could leave up.
We loved our Earth.
Yeah. We love our, yeah. Just, I like the idea of supporting the businesses too, and
Yeah, I hear that.
encouraging that vibrancy, but, and also the community, like we're all in this together, we're all trying to come together and solve these problems. But making it fun, because I still like these themes of like fun and community and food and education.
Oh, and obviously the electrification.
Yeah, we did.
Part of it, right? All right, did you mention that, right?
It wasn't in the 4 that we brainstormed, like, oh, fun it is.
Well, it's not fun.
Find a way to make it fun.
I mean, maybe that's part of like a home tour or something, or come to BHCC and learn about all the electric.
That would be great.
Here.
It does an interpretive dance.
Yeah, great.
We have been offered a heat pump costume from Rewiring America, so
Any possibility of me.
Wow. That could be fun.
Pretty cool.
yeah, particularly if we had some kind of little like month passport where you're checking off these. Sitting there and entered in.
Beauty of this idea and pulling in so many partners is that each of them would publicize it. And
Yeah.
have many points.
Yeah,
That's our current problem.
yeah. That would be huge. All right, I'm liking this.
okay, and we
Because it
probably
is-
won't return to the EQC for a formal decision unless there's interest, but we have a lot of topics for the year, so this is super helpful, and I could see doing this at like various scales. I hear like the really fleshed out vision, but I can see us taking it in a couple different directions if we had to go a little lighter with it. But I really like the idea of kind of using it as an opportunity to engage stakeholders that are missing from our conversations and get their audiences. So I'll bring this back to the committee, and if anyone is interested in volunteering on that committee as like a personal endeavor, not as an EQC commissioner, we're happy to include you in the process. Thank you, Menlo Spark, for recommitting to the event, and we'll keep you posted. Maybe this is something we can share in our updates at the end of our meetings.
Sure how important it is and how humans relate to storytelling. And so I was wondering if we could create some sort of a storytelling event. Where, I don't know, maybe people submit their stories and then they get chosen to actually tell their story to an audience. And like,
Poetry slam.
yeah, like One story could be how I electrified my home, one story could be how climate change is affecting me or my family, or one story could be how I cook on my induction range. I don't know, just whatever the story is, maybe that would be a powerful way to sort of get people to tell their stories and get other people to hear their stories and create change that way. I hadn't pre-thought of this idea, it just came to me, so maybe it's a horrible idea, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
I think the library's done like something similar, so I could pull that thread with them.
I feel like the idea of trying something downtown, I mean, in the past, we've always tried to have it in a very inclusive location. But maybe we try something downtown, if it's the main event or side event or whatever. We just see what attendance would be like when you do it downtown. Maybe that is an inclusive enough location. Because it is essentially located such a crossroads for where a lot of people go.
Awesome.
And then we will now move on to item D4, receive and file work plan and form ad hoc subcommittees. That sounds fun.
Yeah, and so I'll share the work plan because I want to make sure we capture all of our subcommittee members. So the city council did approve the Environmental Quality Commission work plan, and there were no questions on it from my memory, whereas some other commissions got to work through some things with city council. So the goals, there were no edits to those. I think the new goal from this year was to participate in an ad hoc subcommittee of the Complete Streets Commission, comprised of both Complete Streets and Environmental Quality Commissioners. And so that's something that the CSC will take the lead on, but will participate when summoned there. And so this is what the city council saw, this first page. And you can see in the notes, it was approved on September 30th. And this is kind of our internal work plan that gets really specific at what we're going to discuss each month. And it's publicly provided monthly on our agendas. And so we're already here in October. And then looking forward to, sorry, this is a terrible way to share this. I should have put it in slides. Looking forward, we have, November through July mapped out. And these items can shift as like new information becomes available, but we really try to keep to this for, transparency with the public as well as, administrative, burdens. And we have our regular items listed here, as well as some potential other topics that we may add. And the subcommittees is where it gets interesting as far as the work we need to do today. And so I just want to make sure that these subcommittee report out dates are accurate and that we have commissioners signed up for each of them, because we're going to approve the subcommittees today. And if we need to add someone or change the report out date, we'll have to take action. And that just takes time during these meetings. So we're just trying to batch up forming all the subcommittees today. So let's see how well cooked we can get them. And actually, I do want to, maybe now would be a good time too to talk about the December meeting, since we've pulled for interest on that. So maybe we can discuss the December meeting and getting the commission assignments in. And I think that'd be best suited for the discussion piece of our item, but our subcommittees, our community engagement ad hoc subcommittee, building energy saving ordinance and building performance standard based on BPS ad hoc subcommittee, emissions reductions impact study ad hoc subcommittee, food systems ad hoc subcommittee, matching rebates ad hoc subcommittee, vehicle miles traveled metric ad hoc subcommittee, joint with our Complete Streets Commission. Okay. And then looking at these, the emissions reduction one could have one more commissioner if there's anyone interested. Otherwise, we have 3 commissioners per. So I guess if anyone wants to review their assignments during discussion, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll just assume everyone's looked at it and feels good about it. And we can talk about December.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Have a good night. Yeah. You were.
I think the only concern I have is about the VMT subcommittee. Is that if it goes for a year, my time on the EPC is up at the end of April. So. Well, if we don't do our work before then there will be an opportunity for somebody else to join. And that's fine. Fine.
Okay.
Or if there's somebody else on the commission that is really excited about it and will be here for at least a year.
Sandra, do we have any public comment on this item?
Calling for public comment on item, are we at D4?
Yes.
Regarding our work plan, if you're online, you can hit the raise hand button. If you're calling in, you can press *9. And if you're in the room, we have public comment cards over there. No cards in the room or hands online, so we can close public comment for item D4.
Great. We'll put it up now for discussion.
I guess my comment about the VMT subcommittee is. I care about that topic, but I don't know how far we'll push me.
I do have a question on the VMT subcommittee. Is that committee restricted to only looking at what is the right metric for VMT?
Yes.
Maybe no other recommendations around the ways to reduce VMT in connection with what the right metric is?
It's looking just at the metric. It's possible that a recommendation from that subcommittee could come to form a new subcommittee that has a discrete purpose around strategies.
Okay.
That's a good point. I didn't. See, I feel like there are other people on the subcommittee who are doing this. Like Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Kissel.
Well, so Commissioner Kissel and I had a wonderful conversation about how we're gonna manage the submissions and see whether or not the city is actually tracking to 2030, although probably very reliably informed as we are not. So perhaps when that is done, this might sit in for you in April.
I just got word from someone online that it is hard to hear us. So that's unfortunate, but just speak up if you're down there.
We keep getting this.
Yeah, yeah, which usually happens and doesn't mean anything.
Is this where?
Oh, it should be. Well, I guess that's something to,
Should we move that closer to the?
I don't think it's a Polycom. I think, oh, it's my laptop, that's why.
Oh,
Hopefully it improves. Sorry about that, folks online. Okay. Well, keep talking. It helps.
I don't have any other. No, I'm pretty sad. Any other discussion on this item then? Okay, I think we are good with the plan.
Okay, so let's have a motion.
and move that we adopt the work plan.
Second that.
Okay, how about a motion by Hill and a second by Meyer to approve the fiscal year 2025-2026 Environmental Quality Commission work plan and form ad hoc subcommittees?
That's what I said.
Perfect, okay, we will do a roll call vote. Headley.
Aye.
McKenna.
Yes.
Yes.
Hill.
Yeah.
Meyer. And Jill. Yes. Perfect. The motion passes with 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Great, we'll move on to item E, reports and announcements. We can now hear reports and announcements from staff and commissioners.
Okay. I guess two things for December, since we didn't fully talk about the December meeting. We will have a quorum for December 17th, so we'll work with Chair and Vice Chair. See if we'd like to put together an agenda for that meeting. No other dates kind of floated to the top for availability with the group. Leave it 5, we can make that meeting. And then for December 3rd, I wanted to share that the Youth Advisory Committee invited the EQC to make a presentation and kind of start the conversation around collaborating with this new cohort. They were recently appointed in the last month, and so environmental and sustainability are at top of mind for the students in that group. And so I think we could have some rich collaboration starting with a December 3rd meet and greet presentation. So if you're interested in representing the EQC at that, just send me an email for December 3rd in the evening in the makerspace at BHCC. If we have more than a quorum, we can maybe figure that out, but don't feel pressure since, the sweet spot is to have less than a quorum. And I'll share for our PPA, our power purchase agreements with Peninsula Clean Energy. You probably have seen some spaces roped off by the Arriaga gymnasium over there. And so over the next month or so, there's gonna be some parking impacts in our lot. There'll be fencing and flaggers, and just wanted to call that out, as City Hall might look a little different when you're visiting over the next couple of months as we get our solar installed. And then we'll also be having carports installed, hopefully towards the end of the year. So we'll share more announcements if that comes. I'll leave it there.
Yes, sure.
I want to highlight the Green at Home tour that's sponsored by Actera, happening November 8th. It's free. You just have to sign up online. Then you can go visit homes throughout the peninsula and the South Bay to see electrification and other green home initiatives, like live, and talk to homeowners who've made these changes.
I'm just gonna let people know about the Home is Where the Change Is event this Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon in Redwood City. It's a 350 Silicon Valley, Peninsula Clean Energy and Redwood City event. It's a family-friendly event, and it'll be at the Sandpiper Community Room in Redwood Shores. Okay, any other announcements? All right. Then we'll move on to item F, informational items. Our next item is informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the EQC in staff's efforts to provide updates.
We don't have any, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
we will skip that and adjourn the meeting.